The year is 2027. The world holds its breath as tensions in the Middle East, simmering for decades, finally erupt. A conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran has plunged the region into chaos. But beyond the immediate devastation of missile strikes and ground battles, a silent, more insidious crisis is unfolding. A war not just for territory or ideology, but for the very source of life itself, water. This isn't a story about front lines and military strategy. This is the story of how the latest, most high-tech war in history triggered one of humanity's oldest and most desperate struggles, the fight for water. For centuries, the rivers and aquifers of the Middle East have been a source of both life and contention. The Tigris, the Euphrates, the Jordan River, these names echo through history, cradles of civilization now at the heart of modern conflict. Before the war, countries like Iran, Iraq, and Jordan were already facing extreme water stress. Decades of dam building, mismanagement, and the escalating impacts of climate change had left reservoirs at critically low levels and turned fertile lands into dust. The war acted as a brutal accelerant on an already smoldering fire. The initial stages of the conflict saw precision strikes on military and strategic targets. But as the war escalated, the definition of strategic began to blur. Major desalination plants along the Persian Gulf, vital for providing fresh water to millions in Israel and allied Gulf states, were targeted. These weren't just attacks on infrastructure. They were attacks on the lifeblood of entire nations. The destruction of a single large-scale desalination facility in Ashkelon, for instance, instantly cut off a significant portion of Israel's drinking water, sending shockwaves through the civilian population. Simultaneously, cyber warfare, a new and terrifying dimension of this conflict, was unleashed. Malicious code targeted the control systems of water distribution networks, dams, and pumping stations. In Tehran, a sophisticated cyber-attack caused pumps to fail, leading to days of citywide water shortages and sparking civil unrest. On the other side, Iranian-backed hackers targeted water grids in allied nations, attempting to create chaos and drain public resources away from the war effort. Water, once a public utility, became a weapon. The physical damage was just as catastrophic. The Karun River in Iran, already strained by upstream dams, became a casualty. Bombing campaigns targeting nearby infrastructure caused massive pollution from oil spills and chemical leaks, rendering its water unusable for agriculture and consumption downstream. The delicate ecosystem, already fragile, was poisoned. Farmers who had worked the land for generations watched as their fields withered and their livestock perished. The war wasn't just destroying the present. It was poisoning the future. This weaponization of water resources triggered a domino effect across the region. With municipal water systems crippled, millions were forced to rely on contaminated sources or queue for hours for emergency water rations distributed by overwhelmed aid organizations. Cholera and typhoid, diseases of a bygone era, made a terrifying comeback. Hospitals, already struggling to treat war casualties, were inundated with patients suffering from waterborne illnesses. The humanitarian crisis spiraled, far outpacing the capacity of international aid. The war for water also sparked a massive wave of displacement. Entire communities, unable to find clean water for drinking or farming, abandoned their homes. These weren't refugees fleeing bombs in the traditional sense. They were water refugees, embarking on perilous journeys in search of survival. Neighboring countries like Turkey and Jordan, already hosting millions of refugees from previous conflicts, saw their borders strained to the breaking point. Camps swelled, resources thinned, and social tensions flared. The water crisis was redrawing the demographic map of the Middle East in the most brutal way imaginable. In the midst of this chaos, glimmers of human ingenuity and resilience emerged. In isolated communities, people reverted to ancient techniques of water harvesting, building small-scale sand dams and cisterns. Underground networks of engineers and tech experts worked covertly to patch and secure local water systems against cyber attacks. International NGOs, operating under extreme danger, drilled new boreholes and distributed thousands of portable water purification filters. These were small victories in a vast sea of despair, but they were lifelines. They demonstrated a powerful truth. Even when nations go to war, the human instinct to preserve life, to find a way, endures. As a fragile ceasefire begins to take hold, the true cost of the war is becoming clear. The battlefields are not just the cities and deserts littered with the wreckage of tanks and drones. The true lasting battlefield is the environment itself. The poisoned rivers, the depleted aquifers, and the destroyed infrastructure will take decades, if not centuries, to recover. The water crisis, exacerbated by the conflict, has become the region's most pressing long-term security threat. The international community is now faced with a monumental task. Rebuilding the Middle East is no longer just about reconstructing buildings and roads. It's about ecological restoration. It requires a new form of diplomacy, water diplomacy focused on equitable sharing agreements, joint investment in sustainable water technology, and a regional commitment to depoliticize this essential resource. Experts argue that future peace treaties must have water sharing and environmental protection clauses at their very core. Without them, any peace will be temporary, built on a foundation as unstable as parched earth. This conflict serves as a stark warning for the entire world. The Middle East was a canary in the coal mine. According to the United Nations, by 2050, more than half the world's population could be living in areas facing water scarcity. What we have witnessed here, the deliberate targeting of water infrastructure, the rise of water refugees, the outbreak of disease, is a terrifying preview of what future conflicts could look like in a climate-changed world. The story of the 2027 water war is not just a regional tragedy. It's a global cautionary tale. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. Are our own water systems secure? Are we prepared for a future where water is more valuable than oil? And what are we doing right now to prevent the conflicts of tomorrow? The lesson from the scorched earth of the Middle East is clear. Securing our shared water future is not just an environmental issue. It is the ultimate security challenge of the 21st century. The next world war may not be fought over borders or beliefs, but over a single, simple, and irreplaceable drop of water. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the critical issues shaping our world. Stay informed and stay engaged.